Excuse me, sir, but may I be of assistance? Ah, I see I have alarmed you. Do not be frightened by my beard. I am a lover of America. I noticed that you were looking for something. More than looking. In fact, you seem to be on a mission. And since I'm both a native of this city and a speaker of your language, I thought I may offer my services. How did I know you were American? No, not by the colour of your skin. We have a range of complexions in this country, and yours occurs often among the people of our northwest frontier. Nor was it your dress that gave you away. A European tourist could easily have purchased in Des Moines your suit with its single vent and your button-down shirt. True, your hair, short cropped, and your expansive chest, the chest, I would say, of a man who bench presses regularly and maxes out well above 225, are typical of a certain type of American. But then again, sportsmen and soldiers of all nationalities tend to look alike. Instead, it was your bearing that allowed me to identify you. And I do not mean that as an insult, for I see your face as hardened, but merely as an observation. Come, tell me, what were you looking for? Surely at this time of day, only one thing could have brought you to the district of old Anarkali, named, as you may be aware, after a courtesan immured for loving a prince. That is the quest for the perfect cup of tea. Have I guessed correctly? Then allow me, sir, to suggest my favourite among these many establishments. Yes, this is the one. Its metal chairs are no better upholstered. Its wooden tables are equally rough. And it is, like the others, open to the sky. But the quality of its tea, I assure you, is unparalleled. You prefer that seat, with your back so close to the wall? Very well, although you will benefit less from the intermittent breeze, which, when it does blow, makes these warm afternoons more pleasant. And will you not remove your jacket? So formal. Now that is not typical of Americans, at least not in my experience, and my experience is substantial. I spent 4.5 years in your country. Where? I worked in New York, and before that attended college in New Jersey. Yes, you were right. It was Princeton. Quite a guess, I must say. What did I think of Princeton? Well, the answer to that question requires a story. When I first arrived, I looked around me at the Gothic buildings, younger, I later learned, than many of the mosques in this city, but made through acid treatment and ingenious stonemasonry to look older, and thought, this is a dream come true. Princeton inspired in me the feeling that my life was a film in which I was the star and everything was possible. I have access to this beautiful campus, I thought, to professors who are titans in their fields and fellow students who are philosopher kings in the making. I was, I admit, overly generous in my initial assumptions about the standard of the student body. They were almost all intelligent, and many were brilliant. But whereas I was one of only 2 Pakistanis in my entering class, 2 from the population of 100 million souls, mind you, the Americans face much less daunting odds in the selection process. 1,000 of your compatriots were enrolled, 500 times as many, even though your country's population was only twice that of mine. As a result, the non-Americans among us tended to, on average, to do better than the Americans, and in my case I reached my senior year without having received a single B. Looking back now, I see the power of that system, pragmatic and effective, like so much else in America. We international students were sourced from around the globe, sifted not only by well-honed standardised tests, but by painstakingly customised evaluations, interviews, essays, recommendations, until the best and the brightest of us have been identified. I myself had among the top exam results in Pakistan and was besides a soccer player good enough to compete on the varsity team, which I did until I damaged my knee in my sophomore year. Students like me were given visas and scholarships, complete financial aid, mind you, and invited into the ranks of the meritocracy. In return, we were expected to contribute our talents to your society, the society we were joining. And for the most part, we were happy to do so. I certainly was, at least at first. Every year, Princeton raised her skirt for the corporate recruiters who came onto campus, and as you say in America, showed them some skin. The skin Princeton showed was good skin, of course, young, eloquent, and clever as can be. But even among that skin, I knew in my senior year that I was something special. I was a perfect breast, if you will, tan, succulent, seemingly defiant of gravity, and I was confident of getting any job I wanted. Except one, Underwood, Sampson and Company. You have not heard of them? They were a valuation firm. They told their clients how much businesses were worth, and they did so, it was said, with a precision that was uncanny. They were small, a boutique really, employing the bare minimum of people, and they paid well, offering the fresh graduate a base salary of over $80,000. But more importantly, they gave one a robust set of skills and an exalted brand name. So exalted, in fact, that after 2 or 3 years there as an analyst, one was virtually guaranteed admission to Harvard Business School. Because of this, over 100 members of the Princeton class of 2001 sent their grades and resumes to Underwood Sampson. 8 were selected, not for jobs I should make clear, but for interviews, and one of them was me. You seem worried. Do not be. This burly fellow is merely our waiter, and there is no need to reach under your jacket, I assume, to grasp your wallet, as we will pay him later when we are done. Would you prefer regular tea with milk and sugar, or green tea? Or perhaps their more fragrant speciality, Kashmiri tea. Excellent choice, I will have the same. And perhaps a plate of jalebis as well. There, he is gone. I must admit, he is a rather intimidating chap, but irreproachably polite. You would have been surprised by the sweetness of his speech, if only you understood Urdu. Where were we? Ah, yes, Underwood Sampson. On the day of my interview, I was uncharacteristically nervous. They'd sent a single interviewer, and he received us in a room at the Nassau Inn. An ordinary room, mind you, not a suite. They knew we were sufficiently impressed already. When my turn came, I entered and found a man physically not unlike yourself. He too had the look of a seasoned army officer. Shangares, he said, and I nodded, for that is indeed my name. Come on in and take a seat. His name was Jim, he told me, and I had precisely 50 minutes to convince him to offer me a job.